What's going on, my brother?
What's good? Hold on one sec. Let me do something here.
Turn on my volume. Everything sound good on your end?
Yes, sir. Sorry about
All
being
right.
a couple minutes late.
It's all good. It's an honor to have you on, brother. So you get that. You're an OG. You get that. You get that. So let me just reset. I'm gonna just introduce it because we record now, but I'm gonna chop it. We're gonna edit it, put the B-roll, all of that in post.
Got it.
All right. So I'm gonna introduce you. I'm gonna bring you back on in 1 second. All right. What's going on? Tap in and take notes. This is your boy Jay Gibson, aka CEO Jules, aka the new face of finance. So get used to it. And this is Boss Talk Nation, the #1 platform for turning entertainers into entrepreneurs. And tonight, I got the godfather of that. I got somebody who been doing his thing since way back, like a Cadillac. With all 4 flats. You heard me? We're going to find out what's going on with the whole Miami movement. We're going to see how it got started. We're going to see everything. We're going to talk to my man right here. If you don't know who I'm talking about, I got my man DJ EFN, the legend in the building. Say what's up to the people.
What's good, man? Thanks for having me.
It's good, man. It's an honor and a pleasure, man. We definitely wanted to talk to you. I know we've been scheduling it. You know what I mean? We just been waiting patiently, and now we here. So, definitely welcome to the show. And and we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to some hip hop talk. So, we've been doing our research, we've been doing our Googles, and we see that you are definitely a fixture in the Miami hip hop, whole infrastructure. So let's take them back to, let's say, the 90s when you first really started moving, and where you saw where the hip hop state in Miami was when you first started, and then we can start going through the levels.
Right. So, I mean, Miami has like a complicated hip hop story in a sense that, we go back to like Two Life Crew era, Poison Clan, all of that, which at that time, when Two Life Crew first came on the scene, there was no difference between a Two Life Crew and a Run DMC. Like, it was all the same.
Right.
But in the early 90s, and for all kinds of different reasons that we can get into, which would take us forever, there was like a split in the Miami scene where it was like, and this is like kind of like when Luke left Two Life Crew and he was more doing just like the party chants type stuff. He wasn't emceeing on the joints. So it kind of like made a division where you had like the Miami bass scene and the Miami music scene. And then they looked at hip hop as this thing that was coming from New York. And so you had that division in Miami, when in truth that wasn't the case, because hip hop, is not just something from New York, but at the time there was a lot of New Yorkers coming to Miami. So they saw it as like this like invasion of New York. And then that's, that real lyrical boom bap sound to them was something coming from New York. And then you had the Miami sound. Someone like me, who's originally from LA, moved to Miami as a young kid, grew up in Miami. I loved it all. It was all hip hop to me. So I wasn't with that whole division, but I was into the lyrical side of stuff. I was into the stuff that mainly was coming out of New York, but coming out of New York, LA, Atlanta, Chicago, wherever there was dope hip hop, I was into it. And that's what I wanted for Miami. And so there was this small pocket of diehard Miami hip hop heads that were just focused on creating and repping this scene out of Miami and making sure that we got known for also for lyrics and production quality, as well as we still loved and respected the Miami bass scene and everything that was considered Miami music.
Yeah, man. I mean, definitely. I mean, I remember those old Luke records. I mean, I was real young at that time.
Yeah.
I wasn't even supposed to be listening to it, but I was, listening to what was going on when the Jeeps rolled by. They was playing a couple of them joints, man. And, Luke was pivotal in the whole independent hip hop movement.
Absolutely.
Well.
Yeah.
And, I do remember seeing that he won his case in the Supreme Court. So, talk about that just as somebody who's part of the culture down there, to see somebody from y'all hood go all the way to the Supreme Court and then win.
Nah, I mean, Luke and Luke Skywalker Records, they to me, those are, I looked up to them, and it was iconic, and it was dope because it was in my city. So for me, like, the people that influenced me was Luke on an independent tip, was Eazy-E and Ruthless Records. Those are the two, and then you had Jay Prince also in Rap-A-Lot Records. Those guys were the ones that I looked at and said, man, that's what I want to strive to be. and do. So, and then when they won, see what Luke did, besides being independent and being in the forefront of independence in hip hop and in music in general, he also, that whole Supreme Court case had to do with the freedom of speech. Right. And to be able to say whatever you wanted on records, and then they put those parental advisory stickers on records, and that changed it for everybody, not just in hip hop and rap music. That changed it for everybody. So he deserves a lot of credit for everything he did.
Right, definitely. So I wanted to talk to you about the art of DJing versus the business of DJing. Right. And and I know you're definitely one of the top DJs from your city. You're definitely somebody who put it down on the ones and twos. And somewhere along the line, I mean, obviously I've had the pleasure to meet Kool Herc, you feel me? And it went from, the systems, right? And who had the biggest speakers, who had the most records, who had the biggest squad, to more like then the scratch battles. And then we went through the evolutions. So talk about just, not just Miami, but just hip hop in general. What do you feel as far as the evolution of, the art of actually cutting and scratching, and two, it became more of a business. You had the mixtape DJs, and we'll get into your mixtape series as well, but just on the foundation now.
I mean, I think the DJ, well, not that I think, I know the DJ is the foundation of everything hip hop. Without the DJ, we don't have hip hop.
Right.
And so to me, a DJ, DJing and the art of DJing and that element of hip hop has like almost subgenres now. Like, because like you said, back then the DJ, if they battled with the sound systems, and that was happening here in Miami as well, even with Luke and the DJ crews that they had out here. So that's one element. And then, as DJs kept progressing, then they became producers, and they're the ones who are, putting out the artists. And then they start, having more skills as the equipment got better and the technology changed. Then these DJs could do all kinds of things and use turntables as straight up instruments. And then you have turntablist DJs. And I mean, I've always advocated for DJs where we're not just people on turntables.
Right.
Because I just think that the mentality of a DJ can take you so far, in the industry, because we have to be, we're A&Rs because we're picking records out. We're producers because we know what records sound good. Right. We're party promoters. We're promoters. We're marketers. We create brands. We have to promote ourselves. If you put out mixtapes, you're damn near a record label, because that's like putting out an album every time you put out a mixtape. Right. So to me, that's what a DJ really like embodies, man. Like, we're the total package when it comes to hip hop.
Right, definitely. And there's a lot of talk going on the different shows, and the salute to all the different podcasts, and we'll get to that later, about who is the dopest mixtape DJ of all time, right? So just in your estimation, who would you say, just DJs period, are your top 5 DJs that you would say that you put on your Mount Rushmore?
So not just mixtapes, you're saying top
not
DJs.
Just mixtapes, just total.
I mean, you're gonna have to put Kool Herc in there because he's the Godfather, right? So Kool Herc. Then you're gonna put, for me personally, it's Kid Capri, because he inspired me even on the mixtape tip, hearing his live parties on tape.
Yeah.
So Kid Capri. Then you're gonna have, I got a homie from my hood who's one of the best DJs in the world, like 5-time world champion, DJ Craze.
Okay.
Then you got Rock Raider.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go with, that's a tough one, because then I want to go with a straight up like club DJ. But you know what? I'm gonna go to the West Coast, and I'm gonna say Qbert.
Cuba's a beast. He's a beast.
Yeah.
And I had a funny story about Capri. I was in Vegas for the Magic Show one year, and how every brand throws their little parties and stuff. And Capri was there, and I never had been to a Capri party, like you said that. And I realized how this guy goes into eras, and he just had record after record after record after record, and it was just like, you had the gangsters in the party dancing. It was like you couldn't, like, whatever your favorite joint, he gonna run through that era.
He performs. He's a performer, and you know what? I gotta go back and dial it back and just inserted a 6th person, because he really belongs in the 5, especially in today's day and age, is D-Nice, man. Because what he showed, the power of what the DJ is and can do, you know, especially in these times. And man, salute to him for what, you know, him representing all of us DJs out there.
Right, definitely, man. Now, as far as the mixtape era, you know, I was doing my research on you, and it was saying that, and I wanted to give you credit for this because I thought it was an innovation. And it was saying that you heard all of the mixtapes that were coming out of New York and up top, and you said, you know, they were shouting out the Bronx, they shouting out Harlem, they shouting out Brooklyn. You like, wait a minute, they ain't shouting out the 305. Right. So you developed your own brand. Let's talk about that and how you got into developing the you know, Crazy Hood brand and Who's Crazy and all of that, and how it went into that first mixtape to say, you know what, I'm gonna take all the bangers, all the joints that's up, but I'm gonna make the drops Miami.
Right. So like I mentioned, it was some, you know, pocket of diehard hip hop heads that wanted to rep Miami, you know, in Miami. So, but we weren't getting stuff that repped Miami, and you know, and the mixtapes was a big source of, you know, how we heard music. Right. And a lot of, like I said, a lot of our music did come from New York. So we're getting Tony Touch, we're getting Ron G, we're getting SNS, we're getting Clue, we're getting all these mixtapes, and they all rep New York amazingly, but they not repping Miami. They not, you know, there's no freestyles from a local artist in Miami. And that's what I was like, all right, we missing that. And I saw that as a lane and a niche that I could pick up, you know, that I could potentially, you know, go into. And that's what I started to do. And honestly, there was nobody really, you know, aside from, you know, like I said, the Miami Bass side of things, where they were putting out tapes on the straight up at that point called what everybody considered hip hop. There was nobody doing that in Miami. Right. So, you know, I put that on my back, and me and my crew, that's what we did. And we, you know, in every tape, it had a Miami reference. It had freestyles from local Miami artists. We had drops. Every artist I met that did a drop or a freestyle, I was like, yo, you got to mention Miami. Right. You know, and sometimes rep my hood, Kendall, which is the South Miami area. And that's what I did. And people at the time, it was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, he got these people talking about Miami. It was unheard of at the time. Right. To rep Miami, to rep 305, that was completely unheard. I know now people be like, everybody reps the 305, everybody reps Miami, but it was unheard of back then.
Right. And that's one of the questions I wanted to get to, but I'll save that for a minute because I want to go in chronological order. So, you know, starting your company, this platform, we try to encourage entertainers to transform into entrepreneurs. Right. So talk about the mindset of when the switch clicked and say, you know what, I could turn this into a business, and you started doing promotions along with the music, and how that changed the game for you in your business.
Well, it was from the beginning. I already personally, you know, as much as I wanted to be a rapper and I rapped on some of my mixtapes, I'm not an MC, so I didn't have that. So I was always going to be the person behind the scenes coordinating things, and I looked at it, okay, I'm going to create this business that in a platform that supports artists, develops artists, produces artists. So in the beginning, it was more like a record label, indie record label. So I was thinking as a businessman. Right. And this is me coming right out of high school, 18 years old. Right. With my crew. Yeah, my crew, and everybody was between 16 and 19 at the time. So, and I told my crew, I was like, what's going to set us apart is us being organized and acting like businessmen. You know, even though we still young, we still immature, we got to act it. You know what I'm saying? We got to be taken serious. And so that was my mindset from the beginning. But what I quickly learned is, you know, in the beginning, I'm like, all right, we're going to make a record label. We're going to do a demo. We're going to go to studio. And then we're going to get a deal. And we're going to go, you know, gold and platinum. And we made it. That's not the way shit works. Right. So when I figured that out and how much money it costs to try to even do any of these things, which we had no money. Right. Then I started to say, all right, what else can we do within the realm of the music that can start to generate revenue and fund these dreams, these other things that aren't bringing any money. Right. And that's when I started to pivot, and I opened a hip hop clothing store with my homie Eddie Giggs called Crazy Goods. And then I started the marketing and promotions. You know, that was big. I started doing parties, like promoting my own clubs and parties, bringing artists into town. And so, you know, whatever I could see an opportunity to make $1, I pivoted to that area. And, you know, which took me fast forward where I pivoted into podcasting with Nori.
Right. Definitely. Now, as far as your DJ setup, you know, when you were like, let's say, you know, young, you in the club, y'all really turning up, right? Right. Were you a guy that had a ton of crates? Because I always like to talk to DJs about that. You know what I mean? I'm somebody, just to let you know, I was signed by DJ Chuck Chillout. So, dope. I was signing Nervous in 2001, and then
I love those vinyls, man.
yeah, you know what I mean. So trust me, I know plenty of gigs.
Yeah.
Like, yo, man, bring the crate. We trying to talk them into, yo, man, just put all the hot joints in 2 crates. Nah, man, you gotta bring 8 crates.
All of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So just talk about how the evolution of going from the crates, and see, you could really know the veterans, because it don't matter what's in any crate, right? But some people they like their stuff in order. Some people they like the challenge of trying to find that next record. So talk about your style, and what made you, how did you like your setup?
But you hit it on the nail. That I consider that a culture in itself, having vinyl and going through the vinyl in the middle of a club set where there was speed, but there was like an art to going through records, and you kind of like just knew the artwork on either the sleeve or the label, and you just boom, and you pulled that record out. And that to me by itself was an art form, a culture. But yeah, I used to bring damn near all my records to the club, because I was like, whatever the mood, organic mood that I get into with the vibe, I need to have a record for that. So I'm gonna bring everything. And yeah, me and my boys, man, we would break our backs taking all these crates of records. It'll be at least like 10 crates of records on 2 picnic tables behind me. Yeah. And then, I had all these records there. And that was the culture that, and the way that I DJ'd. And honestly, when it became digital DJing, I understand why people don't want to carry crates. I get that. I don't want to fucking carry crates no more either. But honestly, me personally, that's where me as a DJ, like active DJ in the club scene, and spinning like that career of mine ended, because it just changed the way it felt for me. And it just wasn't the same vibe. So I stopped doing it a long time ago, like in the club scene like that.
Yeah, man. That was my next question, because what I was going to ask you, when things started shifting to Serato and stuff, it did make it easier. It was more efficient, and people could travel. I remember an old story. They were saying Jazzy Jeff was going overseas one time, and he's like, yo, man, you know how much it costs extra to carry all these crates over here? He said, I got
absolutely
a case and I'm ready to go. But I wanted your opinion on the flip side of that, because as things became digitized, it made everybody think they could get in the game and become a DJ. So how did you feel as somebody who might say, okay, I'm not, I'm established, but now you got my cousin down the street, he a DJ, or this other dude across town, he was never there, so how did the DJs feel like, okay, we transitioning for our benefit, but now all these jokers jumping in, and trying to be a DJ. So how do you feel about that?
I mean, yeah, look, personally, to be honest, I didn't like it, of course, but at the same token, I made a personal choice to say, okay, well, it's not for me anymore, and I'm gonna step away and do other things, and that's it. That was my personal choice, because it just wasn't my vibe anymore. But I honestly feel that if you're a talented DJ, it don't matter if it's vinyl, and actually the technology, if you're talented, it's only gonna enhance how dope you are.
Right.
A dope DJ is going to be even doper when it comes to having all these, digital things that they can do now and make beats live on the spot, and the way that they mix records and all the stuff that they do is just incredible now. I mean, I'm telling you, if you watch my boy DJ Craze and a bunch of other DJs like him, what they're doing is insanity, on the tables now with this technology. But yeah, everybody now is a DJ in that sense, but not everybody is actually a DJ for real. Right. And to me, like I said, there's so many elements to make a DJ that anybody could be a rapper now, anybody could be a DJ, like anybody could be anything right now.
Right. We see that on Clubhouse every day. Is everybody CEO, A&R, they extraordinary. So let me talk about one of my favorite moments as far as Miami hip hop was, and it's crazy because Nori talks about this, and he talks about Nair, when Nair came out. And personally for me, what I'm saying, I was like, I like Trick Daddy's flow. But when Trina hit that track and I heard that voice, and it was like that, it went crazy. You know what I mean? You like, yo, who's that? You feel me? So talk about when that record broke in the city. I don't know personally, but did it break out of Miami first, or did it catch on the country?
Oh, no. That I know of, first in Miami. And Trick was already someone that was bubbling in Miami. He had been on a Luke record called Scarred, and he was already known down here.
Right.
And the thing about Trick, and I've kind of made a comparison, and some people might be like, that's outrageous, but I said he's kind of like Miami's Jay-Z, because the thing about Trick is he spoke the way that we speak out here. He spoke about the things that the references, just like how I try to do with my mixtapes. That's what Trick was in a sense as an artist, you know, as an MC. And I do think that he's lyrical. Some people might say he's not lyrical. I'm like, nah, man, if you're listening to him through someone in Miami's ears, he's hella lyrical.
Right.
You know, and that's the way I always thought that he was lyrical, and I felt like he never got, you know, or still doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And he's got, you know, and he talks like, I got a record on my album Another Time that I put out in 2015, and this is how I felt about him, and this is why I put him in the company of these other artists. It was Trick Daddy, Juvenile, and Dead Prez.
Right.
And because I felt like they're all in the same vein, just different sounds, you know. I mean, Juvie, easy. So
yeah. And I was gonna say that's interesting. You talked about Trick's lyricism, because when you listen to the records, and you know, as an MC, you start listening. You listening for the bars, and you like, this dude could spit. Because I was one of the songs when he did I'm a Thug, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it showed me that not only does he have lyrical skill, he had imagination. Like, he's in the video, I think it would kind of be a play on the Blues Brothers when he's in the restaurant, he's eating the chicken wings, he's throwing stuff back and white. But he's showing you he had a personality. And I think that's important for artists to resonate with the audience. Like, yeah, I'm a thug, but I still got a personality. You feel what I'm saying?
Right. Now he's one of the funniest dudes ever, too.
Yeah, I mean, he was just cussing people out on the live last week by this restaurant. He got the restaurant on. So, what I was going to say is, even Slip and Slide as a movement, I think is one of the most underrated, because they had a squad, they had a roster, you know, like when Take It to the House, because I played football, you know, in high school.
Oh, that's a crazy record.
When that came out, I was like, yo, this is the joint. The beats was rocking and everything. So, you know, let's take it from the Trick Daddy and the Slip and Slide era to the Rick Ross era, right? And how everything kind of, when he talked about the two Miamis, right? And I never forgot that. So from somebody who's a Miami veteran, give the audience a little explanation of what he means. You got South Beach, and then you got the real Miami.
Oh, we've always talked about that in Miami. We would always have a saying like, if you want to see the real Miami, cross the bridge. South Beach is the tourist trap. It's the tourist area. And you know, it doesn't, and nobody in Miami feels that represents Miami as a city. You know, whatever, cool. You want to go party there, is all good, but that's not the real Miami. And the real Miami is a complex city with diverse cultures and races. It's got everything. It's a melting pot. And you go here, you be in Little Haiti, you be here in Little Havana, you be in Hialeah, you be in Kendall, be in Westchester. Like, it's so many different places and so many different street politics and politics in the city that you kind of have to know to navigate it properly. You got Overtown, Liberty City, like you got it all. And that's not South Beach. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. That's what he was saying.
Because what I was going to say to you is, you know, during my travels in hip hop, when I first went to Miami, I was brought down there by Salon Remy, because we was working on some tracks.
He doesn't live too far from here, from where I'm at.
You know what I mean? So that's what's up. Big shout to Salon, and we was working on some tracks. And when we came down, you know, my DJ, you know, and we down there, and we would do, because we do our own street promo, everything. We grinding. We was just doing everything. And he said, look, y'all doing y'all thing. You know what I mean? Y'all got these posters y'all do. He said, but you see down there streets that you go across them tracks? He said, don't go over there. He says, just stay right here. I'll be back in a couple hours. I'll come get y'all or whatever. So it was cool. And it kind of gave me that real life, because we from the hood. I'm from Jersey. You see what I'm saying? I was born in Staten Island, moved to Jersey. You know what I mean? So that's like that's the Gothel's Bridge is like my whole story, right?
Right.
So, no, when you go out of town, you know, you kind of be on your point. You know what I mean? I'm not just going to go pop up and somebody, yo, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. You know, you catch something, you know, in your ass like that real quick. So,
and you don't know the street politics of how things go down. You got to respect every city you go into.
Right. Exactly. So let's talk about another, for me, I'm just speaking from my vantage point of, let's say 2000. I want to say somewhere between 2000 and 2001. Memorial Day, right? Miami. I believe maybe the whole New York just came down, decided we was all gonna come down to Miami.
Probably.
and they said it was like 250,000 people just from Biscayne, South Beach, that whole little strip, ocean, all that. So talk about, and then what the reason I bring that up is because it seems like after Katrina and after once Cash Money kind of came to Miami, was a whole vibe, and you had the Runners making the beats, you had Cool and Dre, you got the whole vibe. And that next shift, like I said, from that Ross wave, the early Ross wave to now, it's like everybody's in Miami. Cal is doing his thing. And just from somebody, from your perspective, somebody who's been in the city, helped build the foundation, what it was like to see now the whole world coming to you. You know what I mean?
There's a gift and a curse with that, and pros and cons, because you have all these big out-of-town entities, bigger than life people moving here, and then they kind of become the face of your city and become the face when there's been a bunch of other people that have been busting their ass for decades, if anything. And now, from one day to the next, they no longer have that chance to be the face of the city. So I mean, in that kind of way, it's not cool, but at the same time, they brought a lot of business into the city. They brought, a lot of artists came to work with them, and if anybody was smart and savvy, they could work with that and make network in a way that they couldn't network before.
Right.
But and mind you, before even Cash Money, and my years might be off, BMF was doing it big out here. They were coming out here going crazy.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, but again, we're used to that in Miami. We're like the playground for the industry, right. The playground for the out-of-towners. But there's resentment there too. Like my crew, we had tracks called Fake Out-of-Towners. A lot of artists always, kind of like, with this out-of-towners be like, yo, watch your step, you vacationing and you having fun, have your fun, but don't disrespect the city. Right. And that's kind of our stance out here. Like, have your fun. We get it. We got beautiful women, beautiful beaches, bars and restaurants. You got all kinds of culture. Just don't disrespect. And that was always our thing. Like, just don't disrespect the city.
Right. And I think that's definitely, has carried through over the years. Now, I wanted to get into your evolution and you guys pioneering one of probably the most legendary podcasts of all time, Drink Champs, right? How did it go from, I know you guys had a relationship before starting the show. So how did it go from you guys saying, hey, we got something here, to it becoming this monster that it is at this point right now?
Today's the 5-year anniversary of the show.
Right. Congratulations on that. I saw that on Instagram.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, man, me and Nori, we've been working together and since the day we met in 98, I think, was the year that we met at my store, Crazy Goods. He dropped some freestyles for my mixtapes at the time, and we had been working ever since, man. We'd done it all. I've toured with him and I did his shows out here and we just worked a lot. And then he finally moved to Miami, and to make a long story short, we did a show on Sirius XM that in my studio out here in Kendall for a few years. We stopped doing it. We had a lot of fun with it. So we wanted to do something like it. I got put on to podcasting. It took me a while to convince Nori to do something called a podcast because it wasn't a thing in hip hop yet. Right. And if you knew what a podcast was, you just thought it was some nerd internet thing that somebody did. Right. So finally, when he got on board, I had the name Drink Champs. I already had it locked in and ready to go. And we applied it to the podcast, and we, with the legend like Nori and everything that I'd have already experienced throughout the years and all my experience, putting all of our experience together collectively on this show, to me, we didn't know it though. We didn't know it was going to be as successful, but in retrospect, we brought everything we had to the table and we're like, let's do this show. And then it was just the right timing for something like that. We caught lightning in a bottle, and there was nothing like it at the time. And I just think it was just good, perfect timing. And it just went. It just took off. It went viral. I didn't even know what viral was. Like, I mean, I always wondered at the time, how do things go viral? And we fucking went viral. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the rest is history, man. And I feel like we opened up a whole new lane for a lot of people in the industry, which to me is something that I feel very proud of, because if there's one thing that I just wanted to rep my city and help cultivate the hip hop culture in Miami, man, to add on to the greater culture,
Right.
to me is is something I didn't expect to do, and that is a legacy that if we could have helped anybody bring in more revenue and find new ways to earn money in the industry, then man, I'm really happy about that and proud of it.
Right, definitely. I mean that show has definitely been etched in stone in hip hop. It's like, it's on the level to, in my opinion, of Yo MTV Raps.
Damn, thank you, man. That's crazy.
Cause its impact. Because from the first time I saw it, I mean, we've all been hooked because the chemistry between you two guys, I was gonna say that it's a collaborative effort. And your chemistry, because you're more laid back, you know what I mean? Nori got the, he's just crazy. He talking, you know what I mean? He got his lingo, he got the slang, but always bring like the calm, you know what I mean? It's like, all right, you know what I mean? But you chill, but then on the low, you getting tossed up over there on the side. So I wanted to ask with Tiger Bone, who came up with this tiger? Where did this come from, man?
Oh man, it goes back to the original Sirius XM show, which if you Google Militam and Crazy Raw Radio, which was the name Nori gave that show, right? If you Google that, you'll find clips from that old show. And we drink Tiger Bone, we introduce ourselves the same exact way as we do on Drink Champs. So it really is the precursor to Drink Champs. And Nori, if I'm not wrong, he got put on the Tiger Bone, I want to say from Styles P.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that, but I think that's who put him onto it because it's something that was sold at the juice bar.
Right.
And the funky part about it's like a male enhancement elixir. Like, if you need to, it's like a Viagra, a natural Viagra, which I used to always tell them, like, we got no business, a bunch of dudes drinking this on the show. But the funny thing about Tiger Bone and why it became its own character is it's so nasty that it just to see people's faces when they drink it is hilarious, And
that's what, the audience loves it, man. So what I wanted to, give you your flowers for, as you guys always say, is not just, you guys pioneered this. You had a hit show. You're doing your thing. But the business mind to then segment the show. And me, being a podcast, I first started in podcasting in 2005, believe it or not, right? And I was just running, and that was at the height of the Miami wave. I was just blasting out episodes. Everything that was coming, I was posting. Right. And that's before it was all the copyright laws. I talked to a guy, the first registry that I started with was some guy from England. Right? And he's like, how did you learn about this? I said, hey, I was Googling on the internet. He said, well, look, put out as much as you can. There's no laws right now, so just do what you can until they catch up with you. You feel me? And for you guys to see, okay, the video, the visual of this, you have the audio of this, and then how we can expand this. Because, I mean, right now, you guys have so many different, I think you built the blueprint of how to take a show in one format and keep repurposing the content. So just for the creators out there, what game can you give them to say, hey, this is how you should start, and then as you go, build it out?
I mean, try to have some foresight in whatever you're doing. From the first meeting I had, because when we launched with CBS Radio.
Right.
I remember telling CBS Radios I'm signing the contracts for Drink Champs. Like, yo, I know you're CBS Radio, but this is CBS. This should be a visual show.
Right.
Because CBS owned other things other than CBS, like other networks. I was like, yo, and they looked at me crazy. They're like, come on, man, you're getting way ahead of yourself right now. Right. And I'm like, no, I saw. And then we filmed from day one. We just didn't put out full video. So I mean, I would just say, like, you should approach everything you do and have a long game. Like, have different levels of it. Like, okay, this is what I expect in like 3 months. This is what I expect in 6 months. This is what I would like to happen in a year. And play it out in your mind. It might not go that way, but if you play it out, you'll be more prepared for things that happen.
Right.
And make sure you have all your kind of like, look, none of us are lawyers, so we're not going to have everything together, but try to have some legal standing on stuff. Right. Try to copyright something, trademark it, grab the .coms. That's what I did with Drink Champs. Right. Do all these little things that you can do so that you're just more prepared. Right. In the instance that something does pop off.
Right.
And and then also people got to learn to know when to quit. Like, there's got to be a point you got to give yourself. Give yourself time to be successful, but then evaluate that success and say, all right, is this working for me? Do I got to pivot? Do I got to change strategy? Or do I got to just do something completely different at this point?
Right.
And those are the things that I try to, come mentally with.
Right. And that's great advice. So as far as what you got going on with your company now, what are some things for this year, next year that are coming out? I know I hear stuff on the show, but I want to let you kind of, speak in your own words.
Man, I got another podcast called Fatherhoods,
Okay.
which is me and two of my homies, and we're basically hip hop fathers, and we talking other hip hop fathers, and just talking about parenting. I got two young kids, so I'm kind of new in the fatherhood world and in the parenting world. So it's dope to talk to like-minded heads and change that narrative that hip hop fathers are deadbeat fathers, which has never been the case, but it's kind of been like the weird narrative that's been out there. And so that's a podcast a passion podcast that I've been doing and love doing. I produce a bunch of other podcasts for friends and family. And then I got a documentary series called Coming Home.
Okay.
Where I travel to different countries and I explore the country through their hip hop scene.
Right. That's original. Yeah. That's dope.
Yeah. And that actually, what a lot of people don't know or don't remember is that my first documentary film of the series, which was, I went to Cuba, I went to my family's homeland.
Right.
And that first episode aired on Revolt when Revolt launched their network. It was the first original acquisition on Revolt. This is way before Drink Champs was on Revolt.
Right.
And then by the time Drink Champs aired on Revolt, I already had aired, I believe, 3 documentaries on there, which I did Cuba, Haiti, and Peru. Mm-hmm. Now I'm finishing my 6th episode in the series, which is South Africa. And I have Colombia and Vietnam before that. And I'm in negotiations to do more with the series, which I'm going to be announcing some things real soon when it comes to the Coming Home series. And then I just got a bunch of other brands and things that I'm working with. I got Colombian White, which is this alcohol company, this liquor. You might see it on Drink Champs. It's Aguardiente. I got this thing called Micheladas. It's a beer drink that you drink. Right. It's big on the West Coast, but it's something that I'm trying to introduce more on the East Coast. So that's Michelada cups, which I think I got one right here, so you can see. Okay,
yeah, I always see that cup. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. And just a bunch of other collaborations and things. I work with Monster Energy, man. I'm a sponsored artist, and so you'll see collaborative things with them, and I'm always collaborating with different brands and people, man. So look out for a lot of things. Crazyhood.com is the company though.
Right, definitely. And like I said, we just wanted to thank you and salute you, and try to see what we could do to bring this next generation some examples of people who are at the top of the game, who have done their thing, who put in the work, and who have developed and enjoying the success that you have right now. So for any entrepreneur, for anybody who's out there who doesn't think, hey, I'm just starting out right now, or everybody got a podcast, is it oversaturated? What's some words of advice that you would give them?
I would just say, look, anything is possible. I'm telling you, as someone that I had no connections in the industry. I come from an obscure area of Miami, that when I told people I was going to attempt a career in music, they kind of laughed at me like, come on, man, you don't know nobody in this game. Right. So I say that to say that obviously, like anybody else, if I could do it, you could do it. It's just a matter of game planning. Right. Have a vision. Don't chase trends. That's not my number one thing. Do not chase a trend. You do something because you wholeheartedly feel that that's something that you're into and you want to do. You have a vision for it. But if you jump into something for a trend, 9 out of 10 times you're gonna fail at that because trends fizzle out. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I would just say. Just game plan and just do whatever you feel passionate about. Like you really say, man, I really love doing this and I'm gonna do this. Whether I make money or not. Like don't go chasing that dollar because you're just gonna lose that money. You're losing money if you're chasing the dollar.
Right, definitely. That's definitely the advice, man. And I know you guys, always share the stories of the artists that maybe the new generation really doesn't understand the impact of some of the people. So, what was one of your favorite interviews so far that you guys have done?
I often say 50 Cent is one of my favorite ones, but in terms of what you're saying, like to me, it was dope to sit across the table and speak to KRS-One.
Right.
Like someone like that. Like I would tell any younger artist, like go back and look at those type of interviews, Pete Rock and DJ Premier. Like,
Right.
check out those interviews. So, and we have a lot of those interviews, and we're going to have more. And we're trying to bring even guys that are, you know, like the Cool Herc era. We're trying to get like Grandmaster Kaz and Melly Mel would be dope on the show, and Grandmaster Flash. Like, we're trying to get all of that. And because we all need to be schooled, even we need to be fucking schooled, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. There's so many stories and how we think things happen, and then when you hear some of the interviews you guys do, it's like, oh, that's how that happened, or such and such. And you know, it's dope to hear that. But I was gonna say, before we close out, I just wanted to do a quick promo for the platform, and then we'll be right back, and I'll let you close out with anything you want to say. All right. All right. Hold on 1 second. Here we go.
So you want to be a boss. You gonna be a legend. You gonna go down as one of the greats. Well, welcome to the place where all of that begins. See, for me, I started off in the booth. I was writing rhymes, I was coming up with concepts, and we were putting in long nights to make those dreams come true. But along the way, I learned some lessons. That the real power in the game wasn't in front of the camera, it's behind the camera. And as I learned how to go from an entertainer into an entrepreneur, a burning desire to spread that knowledge to others who were just like me started to brew. And then it started to bubble until it overflowed. And the first thing I did was go find other bosses, other people who were like-minded and had a vision and wanted to change the culture forever, to provide the information and the resources and the network necessary to change the game. So we formed BossTalk Nation, CEOs from different area codes, people who are the greats and the goats in their lane. And we put it all together. Because like the great Chuck D said, it'll take a nation of millions to hold us back. And now that we got BossTalk Nation, you're gonna need a lot more than that.
All right, we back in the building. This is BossTalk Nation, and we talking to one of the biggest bosses in the game for this series I like to call Hip Hop Bosses. Now, before we close out, I wanted to ask you a question. Have you ever thought about doing the Drink Champs Awards? You know what I mean?
We have. We talked about that in the first year, and you know what? I've been thinking about that more lately as something we should probably tackle, which we might be in the position to tackle something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think right now, you know, we got the BET Hip Hop Awards, of course, but I remember Ozone when they was doing their thing, you know what I'm saying? And it just had that different feel to it. You know what I mean? So if you guys did that, I mean, it's a lot of things. I mean, me being my background's in marketing and stuff like that, what I do, you know, in my off time, my brain runs like that. So I could see something like kind of like, you know, you got Hot Ones with the Wings.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all can have, you know, shot for shot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Two hip hop personalities saying who gonna tap out first. You see what I mean?
Right.
I think the brand, you know, I see you got the thing with Smoke Champs and all of that, you know, with the crew.
Drink Champ Sports as well. Yep.
Yeah, so the brand is just growing, man. So congrats to you. You know, big salute to Nori, the whole team over there.
Thank you.
You know, and I think it's definitely the vibe that you guys bring to the table, and the authenticity and the because you guys have been practitioners. You've been in the game, you've been there, done that. And so you're talking to your colleagues, your peers.
Yeah, our peers, yep.
And so it's like these are things that's kind of like we're all getting to be the fly on the wall. You know what I mean? Y'all might just be at a restaurant or a club or a bar kicking it. Now we get a chance to see that. So I think that's definitely an element that you guys bring that's unique. So I just wanted to thank you for your time. If you got any last words, anything you want to shout out, you know, now's the time.
No, man, just thank you for having me and you know, for everything. You know, if you want to check out any of the stuff we're doing, drinkchamps.com, of course, and crazyhood.com is my company as well.
Definitely, definitely. And we're going to be tuning in. And, you know, like I said, once we got everything, we get our editing team and put it all together. We're going to shoot this to your team. And big shout to your team as well. I wanted
Thank
to
you,
give
man.
because they
No, my team is amazing, man. You can't do anything without a good team.
Yeah, definitely, man. So that's the word of today. Collaboration, get you a good team, put in the work, you know, be authentic and rep your city. And one day you too could be at the top of the game like my man EFN. All right, so I'm gonna salute you and wish
brother.
you, and I'll be watching.
Good looking out, brother. Thank you for having me.
Peace. Well, y'all see it. That's what it is, man. We bring the real bosses to the game. We bring the bosses to the table, and we get it done. This your boy, Jay Gibson, CEO Jules, a.k.a. the new face of finance, and this has been another edition of Hip Hop Bosses presented by Boss Talk Nation. Big shout out to my people's Just Jay in the building, and, from Hype Magazine. We're going to show some love, and we're going to get up out of here. Tune in. This is the season 2 premiere, baby. It's only getting bigger from here. Stay tuned. Let's go.
As an artist, we should reflect the time.
Why you so talented?
'Cause I'm black.
Why you so amazing?
'Cause I'm black.
It's really important that we build characters so that people understand their story matters.
2 Chainz and I both are just really into good food.
And when you know you are royalty, you will only aim in life to be royalty.
We're doing it right now. I don't give a damn what they say about me. Yes, I called your ass out. I know I shouldn't be saying this kind of.
Shout out to Hype Magazine Network.
Shout out to the